thank
you
goodness.
were teaching Justin how to pull you in.
Where have
I
you
love
seen
that.
this?
That
I actually
clip.
just saw it too. It was on Instagram yesterday, I think. Yeah.
I wanted to make sure that those scenes had a female gaze.
It was important to me that it didn't just feel like someone's interpretation of like female gaze. Like it really was, you know, this is what we like. This is what
You know, it's kind of interesting to go back into these cast interviews and see what they said about intimacy coordinators, how the cast members were in some of the intimate scenes, and what went down on the set of It Ends With Us. And you know, a lot of these interviews, they make sure that they know what they're going to be answering, but sometimes they get a curveball question. And it happened to Blake Lively where I don't think she was expecting to get asked a certain question. So we're going to look at the interviews where they discuss intimacy coordinators. And you know, maybe some little jabs thrown at some cast members here and there. Now for the intimacy coordinator, when we initially read Blake Lively's complaint, it gave us the impression that there was no intimacy coordinator hired during phase 1. And a lot of us were like, oh, that's kind of crazy. Because, you know, for those of you guys who watched the movie, you would expect there to be someone there who's helping to make sure the set is safe and to choreograph some of the, you know, the acting between the two people when they're in their romantic scene. You could imagine that if you are doing something that's intimate, it's still a workplace environment, it's still a professional environment. You still have to coordinate the scenes, make sure everyone feels like, okay, we know what we're doing, it's safe, we have people here who is going to make sure everything goes exactly how it's supposed to, or so we thought. Let's start with Justin Baldoni's interview about intimacy coordinators, and then we'll go over to Blake's interview where I think she was asked a question that she didn't expect, and it took her a little bit to kind of get back on track again.
Early on in the process, you know, right when we started pre-production, we started searching for our
The question is, what did working with an intimacy coordinator and a stunt coordinator look like on this movie? Good question.
intimacy coordinator, and we ended up having 2 intimacy coordinators because we had a big long break in between because we had 2 strikes. We had a writer strike and an actor strike happen. So we had 2 intimacy coordinators, and early on, you know, as I was beginning to start the process of adapting this film, I'm a man. And this is a story that is told through the lens of a woman. And especially when it relates to intimacy scenes and to scenes where there is a mix of intimacy and violence, I wanted to make sure that those scenes had a female gaze.
Can we put a pin in the female gaze? Because Blake Lively, I think when she was doing a different interview, I think she throws a little shade at Justin Baldoni in regards to the female gaze.
And in no way was I running them through my male brain. As much as I can try to see the world as a woman, I never will be able to.
This interview right here, let me see if I can find it. So in this interview, she talks about how they had Taylor Swift's song in the movie or the trailer or something like that. I don't remember. And then she makes a point about female gaze. And I think it's aimed at Justin Baldoni. What do you guys think?
I enjoy this.
No, I mean, it was important to me. I think that, you know, this movie could go a little like stories that are like women that are
like Hallmark movies.
Women feelings, and they're like not really told by women, and it's like women feel feelings, and you're like, no, like we feel sexy to Post Malone.
I think that's one jab right there. Like women's stories not told by women. I don't know, maybe it's just me.
Yes.
Like we feel vibes to Tom York. Like it's not just like nothing against, like I love a good hysterical female song, but not like hysterical in like a charged, like great, you know, empowered way. It's just like, you know what I mean? You know that sound
It's
that's
not
like
cheesy.
a little,
it's not cheesy.
and anyway, so I just like women are people of multitudes, and you know, I think that it was important to me that it didn't just feel like someone's interpretation of like female gaze. Like it really was, you know, this is what we like, this is what we listen to, this is
someone's interpretation of female gaze. I don't know. That to me sounds like a little bit of a jab towards Justin Baldoni. All right, let's go back to Mr. Baldoni's interview.
And I know what I don't know. So early on, we brought on an intimacy coordinator, and I started meeting with her to figure out, you know, what are ways that I can shoot this? How can this always.
And that tracks with the complaint where he said that he was the one that met with the intimacy coordinator, and then he would relay the notes back to Blake Lively. Now, we always have to remember that sometimes in interviews like this, when they're asked certain questions, they might deflect, or they might just lie just to make the movie look good and make sure that like everyone give us feeling that, oh, we all got along. Yeah, this person's great. That person's great. You know, they're just trying to be professional. They're trying to be cordial. Now, there's small stuff like this where I will take a look at it because Justin Baldoni has no reason to lie that he was the only one that met the intimacy coordinator at this point. So I do believe that this tracks with what he was saying in his lawsuit against Blake Lively.
Is reflect back, one, to the source material, and while we might not be recreating exactly what was in the book, how can we recreate the feeling and the emotion and what Lily was experiencing in each of those scenes? And then when it came to bringing on the stunt coordinator, also it was important to me that it was a woman. We brought on Lauren Shaw, who's also a dear friend of mine, and we all worked together to figure out, well, how can the intimacy of this and the violence kind of work together? How can we make sure everyone feels safe? How can we rehearse and go through the process? Blake was very involved in that and had amazing ideas and was very hands-on with the choreography of it as well.
It's kind of interesting to look at all the cast interviews and even the crew as well, and how they talk about, oh yeah, she had her hands in everything. Yeah, she's like a bang for your buck. Like, she can do hair, she can do like, like script stuff, like, man, like music, like she just did everything. Like, and we know she literally ended up doing a lot of that stuff.
And honestly, there were many instances on set where I just let the women figure it out, and I took a step back and kind of jumped in more as an actor in those scenes than even as a director.
It's interesting to hear his spin on how Blake Lively took over the set, where he was just like, yeah, I just let the women take over, and I just sat back and took on the role of as an actor instead of a director that I was hired to do, Because remember, in these interviews, you're not just going to start dropping the tea on things. You're going to be cordial and professional, got nice things to say about people that you may have not got along with.
Because I didn't want this to be... I didn't want this to feel like it was in any way like these scenes were shot by a man and through a male perspective. I really wanted this to continue and to always be in Lily's perspective and point of view.
And I think that's why Blake Lively took over. Now, we know that the cast members of It Ends With Us did interviews without Justin Baldoni, and most of the romance was mainly focused on Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively in the movie. And since Justin Baldoni isn't there, Blake Lively is going to focus more on the chemistry between her and the Atlas character, who is played by Brandon Sklenar. Now, the interviewer, of course, would be more focused on Justin Baldoni because that's the two major co-stars, Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni. And they're like, oh, like the chemistry between you two. I don't know if they didn't get the heads up to not ask questions about Justin Baldoni or if they just ignored and asked anyways, but they started asking questions about Justin Baldoni and then intimacy coordinators, and there's like something that throws Blake Lively off in this interview.
Chemistry with Justin also was off the charts. I mean, really, truly, you fell in love with both couples, with Lily, with both of them. And Blake, you always have a vision. So talk to me about how sometimes you were even the intimacy coordinator in some of those sexier scenes. Like we saw you.
That shouldn't be happening, by the way. I just want to be clear that you should not be the intimacy coordinator. You should definitely hire intimacy coordinators, which we did have.
Well,
thank goodness.
You were teaching Justin how to pull you in.
Where have you seen
that?
I actually just saw it too. It was on Instagram yesterday, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think that romance is really.
I think that's where she was thrown off. I don't think she saw this Instagram post between her and Justin. She's like fiddling with her hair at this point. Colleen's like, yeah, I saw it. You didn't see it? She's like, no, I didn't fucking see me pulling Justin in as if I was the intimacy coordinator. So watching interviews like this, I think it tells us a lot. I mean, not the full scope of what's going on behind the scenes and stuff like that, but that little tidbit that Blake Lively gave us about intimacy coordinator, that to me seems like it hit like a soft spot. That intimacy coordinator might be something that was an issue possibly on the set of It Ends With Us. And then she gives us a little bit more by saying you shouldn't be the intimacy coordinator, by the way. That shouldn't be happening. I tried finding this Instagram post. I couldn't find it. If you guys know where it is, let me know, where she's, I guess, essentially pulling Justin in and telling her how to be romantic with her on the movie set. All right, I'm going to rewind it back a little bit. And then the interviewer makes this comment about the intimacy coordinator. Blake Lively does like a little kind of like a chuckle thing, like, ugh.
how sometimes you were even the intimacy coordinator in some of those sexier scenes. Like we saw you.
That shouldn't be happening, by the way. I just want to be clear that you should not be the intimacy coordinator. You should definitely hire intimacy coordinators, which we did have.
Well,
thank
you
goodness.
were teaching Justin how to pull you in.
Where have you
love
seen
that.
this?
I actually just saw it too. It was on Instagram yesterday, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm watching this in retrospect, and Colleen just looks like, okay, I'm gonna shut the fuck up now.
It too. It was on Instagram yesterday, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, like, you know, romance is really important. You're supposed to, you know, tell a story well and make people feel, but you're also supposed to do it in a way that, yeah, is like safe and respectful for all. So yeah, I guess that's the role of intimacy coordination. But yeah, when I think of my involvement in the film, I don't really see that as the thing that I did. I did probably everything else. You touched on everything else here and there, but
She's like, I did everything else, and Brenda Scolar's like, yeah.
film, I don't really see that as the thing that I did. I did probably everything else. You touched on everything else here and there, but yeah, we were really lucky I'm fortunate to be able to have had you know, such a all-encompassing experience on this film, and Colleen too. I mean, she's such a great filmmaker. You know, she was really able.
And I think at that point, that's when she finally was able to recenter herself and then continue answering the whatever question the interviewer asked. So I don't know. To me, it seems like she was a little bit thrown off about it, and it wasn't something that I heard her mention in previous interviews, but maybe she did. I've watched a lot of them, a lot. But they did a shit ton of interviews, so I could have missed something where she did mention the intimacy coordinator thing again. Now, this has already sort of been addressed, I guess, in regards to Improvisation. Like, Lively was trying to give shit for Justin for improvising some of the intimate scenes. However, Justin Baldoni did fire back and say that, like, oh, well, I wasn't the only one who did improvisation. If it wasn't okay, how was I supposed to know that? Because Blake Lively was also improvising as well. And then he cited a scene where it said that, like, you know, Blake was supposed to kiss Justin Baldoni's face all over, but then, like, she would do different takes of, like, how many times she would kiss his face, which I don't know if that's really a big deal. But I saw this little part of an interview, and I thought this was kind of interesting. Well, let me know what you guys think. Wow, you are snoring really loud over here, Shiro. He's sleeping.
And so there were times when I was trying something because I didn't know exactly how far I wanted to take an emotion or a feeling with Ryle. And as I would try something in a scene, I would watch as Ryle, Blake playing Lily, react in a way that I didn't see before. And then I was able to go, oh, I went too far. And then I could pull it back because she's such a wonderful listener. So having her as a scene partner just, you know, made me better.
Now, it doesn't have to be in reference to Justin Baldoni. Could just be talking like maybe like an emotionally intense scene where he might have went a little bit overboard with maybe like the abuse part of Ryo. I don't know. But it doesn't necessarily have to mean that he's talking about some of the intimate scenes. But I could see how a clip like this could look bad for Justin Baldoni and could be used against him by Blake Lively's team. Anyways, I wanted to segue to this next part with a viral kissing video on Instagram. Where is this video? It's viral. I don't know where it is. I couldn't find it.
A clip going around, I don't know if you've seen it on Instagram, where you two are in the street and it's where you really kiss for the first time, and she's, you know, sort of showing you, like pulling you into her and showing you how to embrace her. And people are loving that.
Yeah, I mean, look.
Seeing the collaborative effort.
I don't think people realize how involved she was in this movie. And she's a producer on the film.
I'm so sorry. Oh gosh, it's just kind of funny to watch this like all in retrospect, knowing like all the shit that went down. It's like, yeah, I don't think people knew like just how much she was involved in this movie. Sorry, this is going back to the comment that I made earlier. And then also, I think this is a red carpet. Geez, let me just find it. This is just a random ass segue. Oh, okay, I think it's this one.
We do have It Starts With Us, so I'm hoping to see you back in the double duty role.
I think there are better people for that one.
Justin.
I think Blake Lively's ready to direct. That's what I think. So, yeah.
Justin said, isn't it?
So there's a sequel to It Ends With Us, and I think it's It Starts With Us, which I did start reading the book. I just haven't. And I couldn't get past chapter 1. But yeah, so they're asking him like, oh, is there going to be a sequel? And Justin's like, yeah, you know, Blake, I think she's ready to direct. Anyway, just like small little shade like that. It's kind of like interesting to pick through them as we are going through these interviews after having these complaints being filed and knowing more about what went down between the two of them. Okay, back to this. Mr. Baldoni, take the floor.
Film from the beginning to the end. She was extremely involved, and she really made the film better. And there were many instances where I honestly just tried to get out of the way and let her take the lead. And especially when it came to intimacy and all of that, like, she had a very clear vision, and she was telling me what she thought would work and what she thought would be sexy. And from the very beginning.
Oh, I want to make a comment about that. What she thought would be sexy could also go in line with basically Justin Baldoni using the word sexy, because that's how Blake Lively would describe the characters. And that's why he would pick up the word sexy as well. I don't know. Just small little stuff like that, like kind of just like, ding, 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 ding. Like it'll correspond back to like some of the complaints that either of them made. Now, I've already mentioned this before, but it's possible that Baldoni could have still used the word sexy in a very creepy manner. Baldoni says he's got the footages. Let us see the dailies. Give us access to the dailies. But I think for his legal strategy, it would probably be best for him to hold on to a lot of the evidence before making it public right now. Like, wait until we're getting closer to the trial date, and then, you don't want to show all your cards in the very beginning, right? You want to see how things roll out. So I think it's good that he's not literally exposing everything, although he's giving us a lot of information right now. But I think for the dailies and the shots and stuff like that, hold on to it. I think that'll be probably the best legal strategy.
This had to have a female point of view. This had to have a female gaze.
Of course.
And I didn't ever want my biases as a man to infiltrate or hurt the project in any way. Because the one thing.
Okay, and then lastly, I want to jump over to Isabella Ferrer, where she does talk about the intimate scenes, and because now people are speculating. Well, people are maybe kind of confirming that there could be some other allegations made by Isabella Ferrer, possibly, and Jenny Slate. I keep calling Slate, right? Not Jenny Slater. I think I kept saying Slater, and people were like, "No, it's not Slater, Courtney." Is Slater like a WWE wrestler? Okay. Anyway, so they think that the complaints might be coming from Jenny Slate and Isabella Ferrer, although it's not super duper confirmed, but the Jenny Slate one might be. Anyways, here's what Isabella Ferrer has said about It Ends With Us and the intimate scenes.
Especially, like, how do you guys sort of prepare for, like, the intimate scene, and, like, whether it's a kiss or whether it's whatever?
I mean, we had a phenomenal, like, intimacy coordinator, Lizzie. She's worked on Bridgerton before, so she was extra careful with us at all times, but also there was just a lot of communication and, like, check-ins and making sure, like, how are you feeling, how's it going, and a lot of water, like, making sure we feel, like, physically but also mentally well, just while doing such intense scenes, because it takes a long time. It's a choreographed thing. You have to rehearse the choreography. It's like a dance, you know?
Right. And then what's important is that remember how Justin Baldoni said that they had 2 intimacy coordinators because there was a huge break in the middle? Well, we learned that I think all the younger versions of Blake Lively and Atlas were filmed during phase 1, because they were supposed to continue filming more so with Blake Lively, but then because of the strike that was happening, they thought they weren't going to continue filming, but they ended up doing it. Blake Lively didn't come back because at that point she already flew back to London or something. So they're like, okay, well, let's just rearrange the schedule and let's just film the scenes with the younger people. And so I'm assuming the intimacy coordinator that the younger people worked with were the phase 1 intimacy coordinators. So it would have been the same intimacy coordinators that would have worked with phase 1 of the scenes with Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively, where she felt uncomfortable in certain things. But I think, I don't know, we're not really quite sure. Does it warrant having a intimacy coordinator present if there's going to be like a kissing scene? It seems like maybe not. I don't know. Justin Baldoni's team said no, because it's like 2 seasoned actors who have been in the role for a very long time. Probably not. But anyways, so I think this is the intimacy coordinator that would have been in the phase 1 of the Blake Lively complaint. And the way that she's describing the role of the intimacy coordinator seems like, I don't know, professional. Like, oh, made sure that we were comfortable, make sure got water, took care of us.
It's not just like, oh, I guess we'll do this and then it'll lead to that. Like, everything is so specific because it is so intimate that it can get tiring, but it was a great process, honestly. Yeah. Great. I mean, it's such a transformation, and to kind of see myself in that light is super cool. I mean, just everybody was, so cooperative on set, and like it was such a comfortable environment that when I see my work, I'm like, I feel good about it. Yeah, It's a crazy thing to watch.
Now, I don't want to use interviews like this to discredit people, because it's possible that when you're doing these interviews, you are putting a face, that you are, trying to make it seem like things were good when in fact you don't want to spill the tea on how bad things were behind the scenes. However, there are select keywords that you could avoid using if you truly felt like you didn't feel, for example, safe or comfortable on the set, right? I think she has used that when she described Justin Baldoni, and then even when she wrote Justin Baldoni a text message, and then in this interview right now. So I think key stuff like that could be important. I don't know if she's like another person on the set that's going to complain about Justin Baldoni. I'm not quite sure. But I just wanted to bring that up and mention it, because we are going to be looking at stuff like this, especially, when we have the court and the trial stuff happen. People will look back on interviews, was like, wait a second, did you say it was this? Did you say it was that? Did you say it was this? So the reason why I wanted to bring that up and bring up the thought process, because I think it's something that either side could bring up and use as evidence to convince a jury. Like same thing with Justin Baldoni when he was talking about that interview where he felt like he was improvising things and he felt like maybe he pushed things too far, and then he would look at the real life reaction of Blake Lively and maybe pull back a little bit. So because, when we watched the Depp v. Heard trial, it was crazy because they would bring up, I don't know, I remember like Amber Heard's team brought up a bunch of like tabloid headlines and tried to introduce it into evidence. And it was like, what is it? So you never know what they're going to try to use. You never know. That's all that I wanted to cover today. I think it's interesting to watch these interviews, knowing what we know now that was filed in these complaints against each other. And it's kind of interesting to see how things were said in a way that was either fluffed up or maybe in a way that was like a little bit more generous, to the other side. But anyways, guys, let me know what you guys think about some of the stuff that I talked about in here. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you guys have a good one, and like and subscribe if you guys enjoyed this content. We'll be covering more about Baldoni Blake Lively stuff. There's a lot that's been coming out, so I've just been covering the selective stuff, but we're also covering Karen Reed as well. There's been a crazy hearing that's been happening, more cliffhangers with that. And I got to catch up with Corey Richins. We have a lot of trials happening this year. We got Donna Adelson, covered her yesterday. Make sure you check out those videos as well. But guys, thank you so much for being here, and I hope you guys have a good one. I'll see you guys later. Bye.
Too. I was on Instagram yesterday, I think.
I think that romance is really important. You're supposed to,